Welcome to another edition of the BaldurNBA 2015-16 NBA Preview. This time we're at the 5 seeds. The Washington Wizards are my 5 seed in the East. They ended last season as the 5th seed, winning 46 games and losing 36. They eventually lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the second round, in 6 games. And remember, John Wall played with a broken hand, so you never know if they win the series if he doesn't break it. The Wizards had their best results in 1978, when they won their only championship. Back when they were the Washington Bullets, they won the Seattle Supersonics in 7 games, led by future Hall of Famers in Wes Unseld and Alvin Hayes. Let's see the moves the Wizards made this offseason. They drafted Kelly Oubre at 15 in the draft. Other players they got were Jared Dudley, Gary Neal and Alan Anderson. Players they lost were Paul Pierce, Kevin Servin and other less significant departures. The biggest move is probably losing Paul Pierce, but Neal and Dudley are solid additions. Let's see how the starting lineup might look like. In the middle there's the Polish Hammer, Marcin Gortat, a solid center who's been good and durable in his stay in Washington. Then backing him up is Drew Gooden. Then at power forward there's Nene, who could also see time at the center. He had 11 points and 5 rebounds per game last year. He'll then be backed up by Chris Humphries and Dajuan Blair. At small forward there's the Shaqtin MVP of last season, Otto Porter Jr., who took a step forward in the playoffs, where he averaged 10 points and 8 rebounds. Backing him up is Jared Dudley, who's coming off a back surgery this summer. He can help the Wizards with their spacing. Behind those two is Kelly Oubre, only 19, so it's not likely he'll get a big amount of minutes, but he could see some time at 3 and the 2. At shooting guard there's Bradley Beal, who played big in last year's playoffs, where he averaged 23 points, 6 rebounds and 5 assists. He's a player on the rise, but has had trouble with injuries in each of his 3 seasons in the NBA, failing to play 63 games in 2 of them. If he can follow up his performance from last year's playoffs, we could be looking at an all-star. Backing up Beal will be Alan Anderson and Gary Neal. Then at point guard there's John Wall, who made the all-defensive second team last year. He had a good year last year, where he averaged 18 points and 10 assists. He played against the Atlanta Hawks in last year's playoffs with a broken hand, so you wonder if they would have gotten over the hump with him healthy. Other than that, he has managed to stay healthy the past 2 seasons, after having some injuries in his first 3. The Wizards are a good defensive team. They were in the top 5 in defensive efficiency, and the best transition defense in the NBA. But they haven't been great on offense, only 21st in offensive efficiency. They could look to go more small, maybe putting Jared Dudley at the 4 in some lineups against certain teams. I mean, they really took off in the playoffs when they put Paul Pierce at the 4. The main thing will be if Beal and Wall can stay healthy on the court together. If that happens, the Wizards are going to be a force. They'll probably try another year with this group of players. If it doesn't work out, they can go after Durant and other free agents, like they have already planned, and possibly find another option to replace Nene, who has seen his numbers drop at age 33. But that's all speculation. There's no guarantee that Durant even leaves OKC. To finish things off, I think the Wizards can end up anywhere from 6 to 4, depending on their health. They showed last year that they have a nice chance at making the conference finals, and they could this year, but I think it's more likely that they end up finishing in the second round with this roster. On to the next team. As the 5th seed in the West, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Before y'all flip, I'm not saying they aren't contenders, they will definitely be contenders. They finished last season in the 3rd seed with 56 wins and 26 losses. They eventually lost in the second round in 7 games, in a meltdown against the Rockets. This equaled the Clippers' best results. They have been to the conference semifinals in a total of 7 times. Let's see the moves the Clippers made this summer. They drafted Brandon Dawson with the 56th pick in the draft. Other players they got were Lance Stevenson, Josh Smith, Paul Pierce, Pablo Piccioni, Cole Aldridge and Wesley Johnson. Players they lost were Matt Barnes, Spencer Hawes and other less significant departures. The biggest move the Clippers made isn't even on the list. It was the trip down to Houston to get DeAndre Jordan to re-sign with them, and not with Dallas. Let's see the rotation according to ESPN. In the middle there's DeAndre Jordan, a good defensive anchor. He led the league in rebounding for the 2nd consecutive season. He averaged 12 points and 15 rebounds. He also led the league in field goal percentage for the 3rd consecutive year. He's a big piece of this Clippers team. At the 4 is Blake Griffin, who will be backed up by Josh Smith. I would like to see the Clippers put Griffin at the 5 against some teams, and then put Smith or Pierce next to him. I think those lineups could work very well in specific situations. Then there's the rookie Brandon Dawson. It will be hard for him to get minutes. He's a physical hustle player that can defend and crash the offensive glass. That can help any team. Hope he does well. At the 3, there's Paul Pierce, who just turned 38, and he has said that this is his last stop. If the Clippers were to win the title this year, he would retire after this season. Doc Rivers will probably play him fewer minutes in the regular season to save him for the playoffs, where he was big for the Wizards last year, and as I said before, spent a good amount of minutes at the 4. He could be backed up by Wesley Johnson and Luke Mbah-a-Moute. At shooting guard there's JJ Redick, who had career highs in points, field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. Backing him up is Lance Stevenson, who could also see time at the 3 behind Pierce. Even if Lance plays bad on offense, he should be able to help the Clippers on defense, in guarding 3 positions, from Westbrook, Harden to Kevin Durant. That will take pressure off of Redick and Pierce. Then there's also Jamal Crawford, who will turn 36 this season. He could see a slight drop in his minutes, but he's been balling for them, giving them 15 to 18 points a night. Then at point guard is Chris Paul, who led the league in assists for the 2nd consecutive season. He'll be backed up by the savvy Pablo Prigioni and Austin Rivers. This Clippers team was the best offensive team in the NBA last year, number 1 in offensive efficiency and 3rd in 3-pointers made. If anything, they just got better, especially on the bench, with their added depth. You can now run some offense through Stevenson when Chris Paul is on the bench. On defense they are in the middle of the pack, 17th in defensive efficiency. They could improve a little with the swap of Barnes and bringing Smith and Stevenson, and even Luke Mbah-a-Moute. They might improve some, but I'm not sure if they'll be a top 10 defense this year. With all these new pieces, it might take time for them to gel together, which is the reasoning for me putting them in the 5 seed. It's crazy putting a team this good in the 5 seed, but it's the West. The 5 seed could be 2 games out of the 2nd seed this year. If they gel well, they could very well be the 2nd best team in the West. And if Doc Rivers can get Smith and Stevenson to play well, that would be so valuable for the Clippers. Because remember, Stevenson got benched in Charlotte and shot only 17% from 3 and 38% from the field, compared to 49% in his last year in Indiana. Smith is a safer signing. He played well for the Rockets last playoffs. Those 2 players are a gamble. Lance forgot his talents in Indiana. We'll see if he can bring them back to LA. To finish things off, this is the best Clippers team they have had in franchise history. They could land anywhere from 6th to the 2nd seed, depending on their chemistry. It could be a fairy tale, or they could crash and burn. The West is no joke, and there's no guarantee that they'll make it out of the 1st round. But I think they will. With the right matchups, they can go to the finals. Gonna be exciting. That's it for now. Like, subscribe, and peace.